So, I am Nabin, one of the co-founder of Frappe. Recently, I left coding after doing development for almost 15 years of ERPNext development. Nowadays, I am trying to automate our internal ops like sales and partner management program. Everything should be automated. So, I am on that. And today, I will not talk about roadmap. So, in the first session, we have seen a lot of new exciting product from our Frappe Labs team. The future looks very promising for the community, and this is just beginning. Those products just started their journey, and if they invest more 2-3 more years, the success will be inevitable. So why we are making so many products? What's the vision? So the vision goal is basically we should have hundreds of such projects under one roof, which one business needed. So needless to say, everything should be open source. But we cannot fulfill this dream alone. We need the help from our community developers. So in the same journey to enable the community developers, last year we introduced Frappe Incubator program, where we are helping our community developers by providing monetary support and marketing support, to kickstart their project. And the idea is to publish those apps in the marketplace. So right now we are associated with 5 projects. So these are the projects we will learn about them later in the conference from those developers themselves. So today, if we see that we have so many great developers in the community who are building many great products in the isolations, but those products needs visibility, and I believe that Frappe Cloud Marketplace can provide that platform. But the question is that why one should publish in the Frappe Marketplace, Frappe Cloud Marketplace? There is no real incentive to publish one app in the marketplace. At least Frappe is making some money from hosting on the Frappe Cloud. But what about others? So to enable that bridge, to enable that gap, this year we are introducing one more thing. We are starting another program called Revenue Sharing Program on Frappe Cloud Marketplace. So what is it? So basically it's simple. Whatever we earn from Frappe Cloud, we will share them with the community developer who is publishing their apps on the Frappe Cloud. So obviously the distribution should not be equal for all the developers. There should be some logic, nothing finalized yet, on idea stage only, but it will be based on basically number of installations and the difficulty level of those products. So we will set up some processes around that and publish soon. So yeah, that's that. So from morning, we are only talking about new products. But have we forgotten about our main revenue generating product, ERPNext framework, HRMS, FC? What about those? No, we did not forget, of course. We just started the conference with the new product stack to set the conference, to set the tone of the conference, to establish that fact that these ERPNext framework products are not alone anymore. So we have so many other products as well for the community. Still, 99% of our revenue comes from these products. Still, we spend most of our times on ERPNext framework related tasks. But over the time, the type of task has been changed, So rather than building new features, we are focusing more on stability, scalability, and security. So our engineers last year have invested a lot of time behind these. So they have fixed hundreds of bugs and rewritten a lot of inefficient code. At the same time, Sagar Bohra from Resilient team, maybe you all know him. So he took the lead to fix all the security issues along with Ankush and Suraj. We also got certified ISO 27000, which helped us to implement best security practices from the industry. So, beside that, I'm getting this question, I'm hearing this question from everywhere, from everybody, nowadays. So, are we enterprise ready? Is ERPNext enterprise ready? So, I'll share my experience. Recently, in the last 6 months, I was involved with 4 or 5 enterprise grade prospects, and we are competing with SAPs, Oracles, all the big products. And when I'm talking about the enterprise, these are not small ones. I mean, those organizations have 1,000+ employees, and they are the market leaders of their segment. So what I observed, my observation is ERPNext is very much comparable in terms of feature with those projects. Not only that, I mean, we have added benefit, added extra advantage of being open source and easily customizable. And don't talk about the pricing thing, So, but still many community members still refrain from pitching to enterprise prospects. They think that ERPNext is not enterprise ready yet. So I was in the same boat 1 year ago, but my view has been changed completely after talking to those customers, So when I would say that ERPNext is totally ready for the enterprises, HRMS is also not far behind, So recently we are involved with one customer who needed to run payroll for 250,000 employees. So after doing some optimization on HRMS product, they are now ready to run their first payroll on Frappe HRMS product. Not only that, Frappe Cloud team is also ready to unveil a lot of enterprise grade projects. So I think we are heading towards enterprise direction. So every existing products are now enterprise ready, at least going towards the enterprise direction, So yeah, that's it from me. I will call Ankush on the stage to talk more about the framework updates. I don't think Ankush needs any introduction. He is everywhere, man. Welcome, Ankush.
Hi, so can you hear me? Just someone can confirm from. Okay, thanks. So hi, my name is Ankush. I've been at Frappe for roughly 3 or so years, close to 3 years. Some of you probably know me from our community forums, Discuss or Telegram or something. So my short story is like I was a mechanical engineer. I studied like few blocks away from here. Somehow taught myself programming, and Frappe gave me a chance to like attempt at like a software job. And here we are. So today I'll talk a bit about the center of the Frappeverse, which is Frappe Framework. So practically everything you saw before and everything you are going to see from now on is all written on top of Frappe Framework, with one exception of Frappe books, where is Alim. And that's also copied, like largely copied from Frappe Framework. So like everything that we do is built on top of Frappe Framework, and so obviously it deserves as much attention as we can. So like we have our best people on it, obviously. So like what's our vision for Frappe Framework? So right now it's like building a framework that can sustain or that can help us build the next 1,000 apps. So we have around 10 or so apps now, and like it's unlikely that we are going to build 1,000 of them, but we want the framework to be such that community can build the next 990 apps or so. So like that's our vision. How do we get there? So like, basically, our team decided that there are two ways. One is one thing that we need to focus on is growth, and another is stability. So growth is making like framework more feature-rich, low code, no code, etc. Adding like making sure that more people can learn framework faster, like starting things like Build with Hussein, where community can get involved into all these things. And stability is what most existing people care about, is like their apps should run the way they run today, a year from now, at least in major version RAM. And stability is also not just like bug-free stability, it also includes things like performance, security, etc. So we'll go through these. For growth, and for like large features that we shipped last year or so, I'll invite Shariq to give us a walkthrough of the large changes that have happened in framework. So Shariq.
So hello everyone, I'm Shariq Ansari. I'm back again. So I'm also part of the framework. So I will be showing you some of the cool features and enhancement done in the framework after the last conference. So as Ankush mentioned, our vision is to make our framework such that it can build the next 1,000 apps easy. So to do that, we cannot rely on the time-consuming way of creating the doc type forms by adding the fields in the child table and then visualizing how it would look. So to solve this problem, yet another no-code feature has been introduced in the framework, that is form builder. Let me show you what it is and how it looks. So this is a custom doc type. So this is the doc type view, and now it has a form tab in which the form builder is shown. So on the right side, you can see all the fields. On the left side, you can see all the data types and its properties. So you can drag the fields from the left on the right side as you want. And you can also see the properties and change them. So let's add some contact information in a separate section. So I'm adding an email field here, then a phone field, we can use the search field button to search all the field types and also the properties. Now let's move this section into a separate tab now. So there's two ways. You can just click on add new tab, or you can use this arrow button to move all the sections below that into a separate tab. So yeah, it is moved into a separate tab now. Cool. Now let's split this into a separate column, and you can also move fields from one tab to another by just dragging. You can now view this by using the preview button. This is how it would look in the form. So yeah, this is form builder. There's one more yet great feature. So you might have used workflows to do some actions based on different states. And workflow builder helps to make this process much simpler and effective. Let me show what I'm talking about. There are two workflows, one leave approval and a supplier quotation. I will show you one simple one and a complex one. So in the leave approval, there is only 3 states: open, approved, and closed, cancelled, and there's 2 transition action. So let's see how it looks in workflow builder. This is how it looks in workflow builder. So the flow is very easy. You can just see and you can visualize it, what is the flow. So this is how you add the new state just by dragging on the right, from the right corner. And to connect this and create a transition, you can connect the dot and select the action. You can rearrange stuffs just by doing like this. That's also, it is also very clear that this action can only be performed by HR manager. Similarly, we're creating another transition action for approval after reject. So this is very simple example. Let's see a complex one. So here, if you will see, there are many states, and it is not very clear, and there are many transition rules. Seeing this form, you cannot figure out what this workflow does, right? Now let's see the workflow builder page. So looking at this, it is very clear that there are two flows. First one, let's see what it is. So for the first one, if the grand total is greater than 25,000, then finance committee, the user with finance committee role, can perform all the actions. And similarly, if the grand total is less than 25,000, the account manager can do all these actions. So this flow is very simple, but it looks complex in the doc type form. So this is workflow builder. So couple of new workspace blocks were also added in the version 15 to make it easier for users to create very highly customized workspaces, one of which is the number card. So you might have seen this number card in the dashboard page. So now you can also add this in your workspace. So thanks, Rohan, for contributing this. He's from a community member. So yeah, this is how it looks in the workspace. The next, this one is interesting. So we have many workspace blocks, but they're not sufficient enough to do a complex or customized use cases. So here comes the custom HTML block. Using this, you can create a super customized blocks. Let me show you some example. So this is workspace, and here you can see some banner with the logged in user's name, then a widget for upcoming holidays, then if you are doing support, then the active person on the support, digital clock, and all these things can be done. It is very simple if you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this is how this digital clock was created, just by writing some HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Cool. So now, as the name says, there is one more way to log in into your system now, using by sending a login link to your email. So just by this is enabled by default. So if you click on that login button, then a link will be sent to your email, and using that link, you can log into your system. This is one more addition. Anonymous web form. So at Frappe, we frequently do discussions, and at some instances, we found the need for anonymous feedbacks. So that's when I've included this feature in the web form to receive anonymous response. So just by checking this anonymous checkbox in the settings for any web form. So if you will send this feedback, then as you can see, the owner of this record is guest, but the logged in user is Ryan. So yeah, this is anonymous web form. So as you might have noticed in the screenshots and the demos, the UI looks different. So we have also introduced the new espresso design system in a framework. So let's see some of the screenshots. This is the workspace. So the layouts looks more compact and readability is also improved. This is the list view. This is the form view. Next comes some UI UX enhancement. So first one, this one was the most requested enhancement. Thanks Devin and Sagar Vora for doing this. Rearranging standard fields. So as you can see now, customized form also has the form builder. So we used to move custom fields in the customized form easily, but now after this fix, you will be able to move standard fields also. So here, if you see, I'm creating a new section and moving the standard field into that section, and it works. Cool. So for new user, so since framework has so many features, for new user, it is very difficult to understand some feature. So if a user comes to any screen and you try to use something, they will now see this kind of form tools which will explain what exactly that feature is and how to use it. So this kind of form tools were added, and you can also create your own custom one for your use cases. Translations. So in the last year, majority of contributions were done on translation, in say 40 plus PRs. And thanks Rafael for contributing. He was the most active contributor for this. Next, some developer experience. I would like Ankush to continue and take this ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shariq. So those were some amazing features, some even matching the new labs product we built. So I'll talk a bit about more developer-centric work and then some stability work. So this, developer experience is one of the key factor in growth of framework, because we want to make sure that every developer who is working on framework finds it as easy as it can be. So this is a heavy term, but I'll just share some examples of the changes that we have done. So we switched to Vue 3. So framework used to have bundled Vue 2 for some components. Now it's using Vue 3. All the cool components that you saw, workflow builder, form builder, etc., they are all built using Vue 3. So now you get this bundle. So and obviously it's much better than Vue 2. I don't do much front-end work, but you can just tell. So another major problem that we solved was formalizing hooks resolution. So framework has this extensibility of where custom apps can override some things in core, and there can be multiple apps overriding same thing, etc. And it gets quite messy if you have 6-7 apps all trying to customize the same thing. So we formalize this specification where the resolution depends on basically the order in which apps are installed, and you can modify them. Funny thing, this used to be actually random before, where there was no specified way of knowing which customization is going to apply. So another thing that was added was runtime type checking. This was contributed by Gavin. He's not here today. So runtime type checking is there are these things called type annotations in Python, which was added gradually over time in the language. And these don't have any runtime impact by default. But now, since V15, whatever you annotate will be validated and casted at runtime. So this simplifies a lot of silly validations that you have to do, or silly casting work that you have to do, like convert something to integer or something to string, etc. You can just annotate it, and it will the framework will take care of the rest. And this is, by the way, done with Pydantic. If you have used Fast API, it's a very similar concept. Another small change we did was auto-generated types. So this is similar to last year, I think Nikhil presented, where they did something similar for JS. Now in Python, you have these type annotations automatically generated for the class. So while you are writing the code, you get completion for free. You also get some basic validation for free. Like if you are trying to assign integer to a list build, for example, it will, if you have a proper setup, it will tell you that you are doing something wrong. Obviously, that eliminates a lot of basic errors, like types are great. next big thing was API aesthetics. So here we did a lot of small changes. I cannot list all of them. They will probably be there in migration guide. But one of the biggest change that is undergoing right now is API v2. So API, the REST API that we have had has been the way it is since, I guess, forever. Like there hasn't been any major change in the REST API because it's so good. Like there's not much that you can fix in it. But like over the years, we started seeing some cracks. Like there's some consistency issues. Like sometimes it returns data, sometimes it returns message, etc. So all those inconsistency issues will be fixed. And like the funny thing is like the way we are trying to make the new API is like, does it look cute? Like really, like does it look cute enough for developers? Like this is how it should be done. So the new API spec will be out there with the v15, and it will be backward compatible. So if you want to opt in for the new API, you can use that, or you can continue using the old one. We added some more hooks. Obviously, the strength of framework is in extensibility. So we added these before request, after request, before job, after job. Like practically everything that happens in framework now is hookable. You can do something before these events happen. This was contributed by Gavin. Again, he's not here. A few more hooks are added for database level transactions. So like if you want to do something before commit or rollback, you can now do that. And it has, like you can look at the docs, but it's very simple API. In terms of stability, like Nabin mentioned, and like I also mentioned before, like stability is one of the most important aspect of Frappe framework. And we obviously did a lot of work on it, like around 800 plus fixes, 140 releases, and we now do weekly releases. So this we started around a year and a half ago, and we have stuck to this till today. So every week there is a release, and that basically ensures that people get their fixes on time. So like some might say that this is a way too fast rate of shipping, and that might be causing bugs, but for that we have this. So this number also went from 50% to 72%. So test coverage, for those who don't know, is like automated tests that we have written over. Like, this is a result of last 2 years of consistent effort. A lot of effort from Suraj, me, Gavin, again, who is not here. So we hope this number someday reaches 85, 90%. So this lets us confidently push changes without doing much manual testing and still pushing weekly releases. In terms of performance, also we did a lot of small changes. I cannot go through all of them. So in summary, like two largest numbers that I want to throw here is the 10 to 35% reduction in RAM usage, which is achieved by reducing some useless stuff from like Unicorn worker and background worker, some technical optimizations. These are like, if you want to read more about this, there is a blog post detailing everything that went into it. Another one was reducing around 10% of CPU time. So this CPU time is the time you see on FC, where like if you have an hour of limit, you probably now have 10% more to go through because framework is slightly optimized and doesn't consume as much time. So yeah, performance, again, like just like v14, v15 is again much better than it was in v14. Another thing that sounds scary, but it's actually a good thing. We had a 50 plus security fixes, and this was with our partnership with Resilient Tech, and this investment definitely paid off. Sagar is not here today, but I would like really request a huge round of applause for him because this would not have been possible without Sagar, and like he seriously took ownership of fixing security issues and delivering them on time, etc. Few more people also contributed to this. I can't list all of them, but Alif in particular, Rafael, Alif, GmbH. So they also put money where their mouth is, and they even sponsored few security fixes with community developers. Lastly, like, I'll just go through some stats. So like in Framework 87 community contributors contributed to the project. And roughly, I would say 10 to 15 of these are, no, I guess I removed the framework, I guess I removed the Frappe one. So these are all purely community contributors from our partners, some of them college students just trying to find some small contribution. So like we are truly open source project. We are not like a company who is just saying that like they're just thrown their project out there like they claimed it's open source. We struggle to sometimes merge the contributions, but like we are trying. So Frappe Framework also grew. We have around 160, I guess, 160 marketplace apps now, with around 2,000 or so custom apps on Frappe Cloud. So we are already starting to see like Frappe framework grow out of the original ERPNext bubble it was in, and a lot of things which are just built on top of Frappe framework and have nothing to do with ERPNext, or even business. Like you will see, for example, Raven after a while. So yeah, adoption is slowly picking up, and we have our goal of making sure that more and more apps get written on top of this. So roadmap, again, like this is a funny topic. So roadmap, again, we try to, like last time there was a huge debate on whether we should have it or not. Like obviously we control whether we should have it or not. We do have a public roadmap. Not a lot of people know about this. It doesn't cover everything. It probably covers like 20% of things that we do. And that's the thing, like even after following the roadmap process, the 80% of the good stuff is just coming out randomly by some developer who just sees that, yeah, that's a good thing to do and not look at the roadmap. So, I mean, yeah, for some things we do need roadmap, but for a vast majority of things, we are just working fine without roadmaps. And yeah, lastly, to sign off, yeah, we are planning to release all these changes in V15, roughly 1st October. So that's it from my side. And now I'll call upon Deepesh Garg. Anyone who knows, who has used ERPNext probably knows who he is. So he also doesn't need much of an introduction. Depesh.
I'm sure like these fixes will enable a lot of builders to build the next 990 apps or so. So earlier today, you must have heard all my colleagues represent or introduce to you a lot of apps that were introduced to the framework. But the one that I am going to talk about needs no introduction. You all are very familiar with it and have been using since many years now. So before I begin my presentation, a brief introduction about myself. My journey with ERPNext began around 5 years back when one of my friends introduced me to Frappe. I was very inspired by their work and I immediately applied. A few days later, I got to know that I have been selected. When I joined at Frappe, we had the freedom to choose our own work. And at that moment, I asked this question to myself that why ERPNext? And someone gave a very convincing reply to this. The person said that, look, there are only two types of companies in this world. One that already uses ERPNext and one that will use ERPNext. So these words have somehow stuck with me all these years and I have never looked back. So yeah, presenting to you a rock-solid ERP, you are all again very familiar with it, no introduction needed. I'll start off with a few statistics. So within the past year, we have received more than 1,300 pull requests, which included more than 800 fixes. Like framework, we also moved to a weekly release cycle, ditching a monthly release. So this enables us to ship fixes faster to our users. We are also the most installed app on Frappe Cloud with more than 5,000 installs. Then we have also achieved a test coverage of 65%. I'm sure that it's not as great as framework, but this has improved a lot in the past year and will surely improve this number in the coming year as well. A shout out to all our contributors who have helped us reach where we are today. On the ERPNext repository, we recently crossed 500 contributors. Almost a year back, around this same time, we were at around 11.5 thousand stars on the ERPNext repository. Just within a year, we have jumped 3,000 stars and have crossed more than 14,000 stars. And I'm sure that by next year, we'll also reach the 20,000 number as well. So while reading a book recently, I came across this quote which said that there is no silver bullet and only lead ones. So while reading this, I realized that this is a similar story to ERPNext. In order to build a rock-solid ERP, like the road ahead, that what it is going to take us is, we'll need a lot of lead bullets. The features might not be as shiny as you have seen earlier, but the fixes, like we'll need a lot of small fixes in order to make this a rock-solid ERP. If I try and explain this with an example, like a performance fix could be as simple as replacing a DB get doc call with a get cache doc call, or just maybe adding indexes to your columns. But a lot of such fixes done correctly will give you multifold enhancements in performance. So we did some similar things with the ERPNext in the past year, and I'll take you through some of those. So many of our users are testing ERPNext to its limits. They have accumulated a lot of GL entries in the counts of millions, and generating financial statements for these users were a bit difficult. So the primary reason for this was whenever these reports were generated, all the account balances were calculated on the fly, which was the primary reason that the reports were being slow. So we came up with a very simple doc type in between, which is basically called the account balance. So the way this works is, let's say you have a ledger, and in your account, bank account, there are some ledger entries, and the total for the ledger is, let's say, 9,000, 2,000, as you can see in this example. Whenever a user posts a period closing voucher, this balance is computed and merged with the previous year balance, and then stored at with respect to a closing date. Now again, when these same financial statements are generated, the account balances are used instead of recomputing the balance every time you run a financial statement. And let's say, for an example, if you are running a trial balance report, you will see those account balances being used to populate your opening debit and opening credit instead of recalculating and going through all those millions of GL entries again. So we tried this on a typical ERPNext site with around 12 million GL entries, and the execution time was reduced by 1/3. So yeah, now you get faster financial reporting. So the users who deal with multi-currency customers can relate a lot to this. This is one of the common issues that we used to receive while supporting our customers. So we have tried to fix a lot of issues in this as well. All these features were built iteratively over the years, due to which there were a lot of leakages that were left in the flow. So now we have unified all this process, and a new journal entry type has been introduced to specifically book your exchange gain and loss. You can, if you look closely, you can see that in one of the rows, both debit and credit are 0. This is because this is how an actual exchange gain loss entry has to be posted. This will help users to properly balance their multi-currency accounts. One typical scenario where users used to face issues while revaluating their accounts was, let's say, for example, in one of your currency, the account balance is 0, but the same account has some balance in some other currency. Users were unable to reconcile such entries. Now the latest exchange rate revaluation tool is pretty robust enough, and cases like these are very efficiently handled. Users who operate in countries where the exchange rate is very volatile had to go away with had to create exchange rate revaluation entries very frequently. This process can also be automated now. All you have to do is configure these settings in your company, and based on the frequency that you select, these entries are automatically posted. Nothing brings more happiness than the notifications of the payments being deposited into your bank account. But all of us can admit that reconciling all these payments manually to invoices is a very cumbersome and tiring activity. So we have tried to make this process faster as well, and whatever automations are possible are also being done. So users can quickly search for the entries and reconcile whatever they need. And not just this process can also be automated. All you have to do is configure your accounts, configure the party type, and your reconciliations will be done automatically for you. So yeah, all you have to do is configure your accounts, and the reconciliations, the invoices and the payments will be auto-reconciled based on the FIFO order. A lot of small UX enhancements, the LED bullets I was talking about, has also been done. Ledger previews are available. Users can view their stock and accounting ledgers before submitting the document. This helps user cross-check things before they submit the document and avoid any cancellations. Earlier, if you have used V13, you must have noticed that all the transactions and the forms were very long. Users had to do a lot of scrolling in order to fill the information and update things. We have introduced tabs in most of our transactions from version 14 onwards, and most of the relevant fields have been grouped together. This allows users to fill the forms quickly with more accuracy, and less updations are needed. POS more mobile friendly now. For users who don't have a computer handy or wants to do on-the-go billing, they can do this using the mobile view in POS. So before, that is mostly about ERPNext. So I would also like to draw your attention to some other app that wasn't introduced in the first session, but again has its origination from ERPNext. So this is something that I had been personally working on in the past year. So introducing to you Frappe Lending. Loan management was introduced as a separate module in ERPNext version 13, and the largest stockbroker of India were its early adopters. They have already disbursed more than 100 worth crores of loan using this platform and are still using this. Unlike any other financial industry in India, the lending industry is also going through a lot of rapid changes. And right now, there's no open source or even a proprietary product in the market that can keep up with these changes. So to fulfill this gap, we are coming with Frappe Lending. We are already working with one of the major NBFCs in India and have introduced features like non-performing asset classifications, foreclosures, DPD calculations, and there are many more features yet to come. So keep following this space for more updates. Now I would like to invite Rohit to show you some of the key features that have been introduced in the stock and manufacturing module.
Hi everyone, I'm Rohit. I've been working at Frappe since last 7-8 years. Since the beginning, I was the part of ERPNext team and have worked on different models of ERPNext. But since last 3-4 years, I've been working on stock and manufacturing models. Today, I'll be presenting V15 features of stock and manufacturing models. The first is stock reservation for sales order. This is an important feature for every organization. It would help them to prioritize their customers' order. It also prevents overselling and back orders. This feature has been highly demanded since for a long time. A lot of partners and customers has requested this feature. So we have added this feature in version 15. So how it works? So we have introduced a new doc type called stock reservation entry where we capture the information about the reserve quantity and the reserve items. So let's have a look. So I am submitting one sales order. I have enough stock. So once I submit the sales order, it will automatically reserve the stock. You can see the reserve stock from the reserve stock report. You can see the reserve quantity, reserve item, warehouse. And also we have, as I mentioned, we have introduced stock reservation entry, which you can see from the connection. And you can also see the reserve serial number or batches from the reservation stock entry. In case if you have to allocate the reserve stock to another order, you have to first unreserve the stock. For unreserve, you have to click on the unreserve. Then you have to go to the next order, go to the click on stock reservation and reserve the stock. So this is the way you can allocate the reserve stock to another order. So what is next in stock reservation? We want to implement the same for work order as well production plan. Also, we want to auto create the stock reservation once the stock gets inverted into the warehouse. The next is a serial number field normalization. So what is the normalization? So the serial number field was a small text, which is a denormalized, which means it holds multiple values in single cell. And sorry to say, but this was a bad design. And we have faced a lot of issues because of this design. And finally, we have decided to move this small text to link field for a serial number. So why link field? So link field basically solves data integrity issues. It prevents the deletion. So we have seen the issue where serial number does not exist in the serial number list, but it exists in the transaction. So to prevent this kind of issues, we have move to the link field. The implementation part was difficult since we had an option of child table because converting small text to link field was hard, like we have to introduce a child table only. And serial number field was a part of child table and we can't add child table inside a child table. So that's why we have introduced a new doc type called serial and batch bundle, where we have added a child table of serial and batch. And we have basically replaced the small text with the link of serial and batch bundle. So let's see how it works. So in version 14, once you submit the purchase receipt, system automatically creates the serial numbers. But in version 15, it just not automatically creates the serial number, but it will create the serial and batch bundle link. So once you submit the purchase receipt, you can see the serial and batches from the serial and batch summary. Also, as I mentioned that we have replaced the small text with the link field of serial and batch bundle, which you can see here. Also, if you have to auto create the dispatch entry for the serial and batch, you can enable the auto create serial and batch bundle for outward. Also, you can mention whether you want to pick the serial based on batch, based on FIFO or LIFO or expiry date. In case if you want to select the serial number manually, we have made some changes in the serial number selector. So in the selector, you can mention the quantity, and you can also mention whether you want to fetch based on FIFO, LIFO or expiry. So why batch? Because batch was the link field since inception, but we were facing one UX issue, and to solve that issue, we have added the batch as well in the serial and batch bundle. So to explain the issue, I am taking one example. So in the purchase order, let's say we have a one batch item with the 100 quantity and one line item. I am receiving 10 different batches from the supplier. So in that case, I have to split the 100 quantity into 10 different lines in the purchase receipt. And while doing that, most of the users were forgetting to link the purchase order, which was causing the incorrect status on the purchase order. Also, it was creating the extra stock ledger entries. So to fix that, so with the serial and batch bundle, you don't need to create a 10 line items in the purchase receipt. With the just one line item, your batches will be created. So next is the multi-level BOM creator. So currently, if you have to create the multi-level BOMs, you have to first create the sub-assembly BOM, then you have to create the main BOM. And you won't get a single screen where you can visualize the complete structure of multi-level BOM. So we have introduced this multi-level BOM, and with the multi-level BOM, you don't need to do a lot of back and forth, and you will get a better visualization. So let's see how it works. So we have to define the name. So we have created a new doc type BOM creator. I'm creating a BOM for bicycle. I'm adding a sub-assembly item here, the main sub-assembly item and their raw materials. You can define the quantity as well. So this is for a sub-assembly. Similarly, I can add a raw materials to my bicycle, and you can expand obviously. So you can add a raw materials and their quantity. In case if you want to convert the raw material to sub-assembly, that's also possible. I can define the raw materials quantity and raw materials and their quantity. So you have to create the structure first. Once you have created structure and verified, then you have to click on create BOMs, and after few seconds, system will automatically create the bill of material at the backend. So through connection, you can check the BOMs. So subcontracting we have introduced in version 14, and we have got a lot of feedback from our customers, and based on that feedback, we have done some enhancement in the subcontracting. So this is the one feature, subcontracting BOM. So for a subcontracting purchase order, you have to first select the service item and then the finished good item. So with the subcontracting BOM, you can map the service item with the finished good item. You can also define the finished good BOM as well. So if you have like different customer using the different BOM, you can map it here. So on a purchase order, whenever you select the service item, it will automatically fetch the finished good and the vice versa. So yeah, I mean, that's it. And we have done a lot of improvements in version 15. We have fixed a lot of issues related to reposting. And our next goal is to add warehouse management system and demand-driven MRP. So that's it from my side. I would like to invite Rucha on the stage. She has a surprise for all of you.
Hello everyone. I hope people are still alive and awake here. So I hope I'm audible behind. Thank you. So I'm Rucha Mahabal. I've been working at Frappe for the past 4 years. I've worked on multiple products, and currently I'm working as an engineering lead / product engineer on Frappe HR. So I'll be talking about what's brewing in Frappe HR since the past 1 year. In the ERPNext conference 2022, we announced that Frappe HR is now going to be a separate entity or a product away from ERPNext. We did this to give Frappe HR an identity of its own. And since then, the journey has been amazing. We have got amazing traction on FC Marketplace installs. You can see the month-on-month growth. So as of today, we have 1.4K active installs on Frappe Cloud in just 1 year. We also got some love on the GitHub repository, and we have reached 366 stars in a year. So when we separated HR out of ERPNext, one of our main goals was to work on the stability of the product. And while doing so, we consciously invested in improving the code coverage for the modules so that it's a bit more resilient. The current code coverage is 73%, which is one of the highest among all the Frappe apps. So let's look at some interesting features added in payroll. If you want to book employee-wise accounting entries, you can now do so by going to payroll settings and enabling process payroll accounting entry based on employee. On doing so, whenever you run your payroll, or all your accrual as well as bank entries will have an employee linking against the accounts with the amounts and cost center-wise mapping. If you have ever struggled with finding out how the tax amount on your salary slip was derived, this feature will certainly help you. There is now an income tax breakup tab inside the slip that gives you a complete overview of your CTC declarations, how your tax amount was derived, how much tax you have to pay in the future, so on and so forth. So this is an interesting story. I think Nabin also mentioned. My teammate, Saurabh, was working with a partner for a customer project, and they wanted to run payroll for 3 lakh employees in chunks of 10K to 15K employees per payroll entry department-wise. When he first started testing the performance for the system with these many employees, it took around 50 minutes, and the job used to time out because of the massive data. And then Saurabh worked his magic, and he tremendously added many performance fixes, and we got down that from 50 minutes to just 9 to 10 minutes. So version 15 now ships with 5 times faster payroll. Following the footsteps of this, we also added faster auto attendance processing so that your attendance is managed without any hassle. My colleague Akash Tom added a report for shift attendance where you can see an overview of all the check-in logs, the attendance marked, and you can see that the in-time and out-time has been flagged in red for late entries or early exits. It also gives you an overview of the duration by which a particular employee was late by. So this is a pretty informative and insightful report to look at. Apart from stability, one of our other goals was to improve bulk processing in the system so that it's very easy and snappy to handle data at scale. We enhanced the attendance tool in the system. Now it's even more snappier. You can set up filters for company, department, branch, select all the required employees that you want to mark attendance for, set the status, optionally select the shift. You can also mark employees as late entry or early exit in bulk from here. And as soon as you do that, a data table is generated with the attendance records for that day. So you can use the inline filters to quickly filter out employees whose attendance has been marked already based on status or ID. In a similar way, the leave control panel was also enhanced to quickly allocate leave allocations or leave policy assignments in bulk. So apart from this, there were multiple tiny features, refactors, fixes that went into the product in payroll, attendance, and leaves. You can find out more on the product update blogs that we publish every month on the Frappe HR site. So this is not it. Now let's move to something more interesting. So in the last conference, we announced that we are planning to create a mobile app for Frappe HR. So why do we need a mobile app in the first place? It's to bring all your everyday tasks on your fingertips and with a delightful and snappy UI, and also to keep HR managers as well as the employees informed at all times with notifications. So how? Of course, since we are at Frappe, the road is full of experiments. We started with stage 0 level of acceptance, which is denial. So why do we even need a mobile app, right? Like the desk UI is pretty responsive. So you can just go to the mobile browser and use it. But the problem here is the desk UI was crafted keeping desk in mind, and it was not a mobile first approach. After we realized this, one of my colleagues started working on a Flutter Frappe mobile app back in 2019. He was building the app for around a year. The main goal of it was to create a component library or a framework in Flutter that allows you to create a mobile app for any Frappe app. But soon we realized that this needed a lot of re-engineering, given that Desk has a lot of features out of the box, and again, re-implementing this stuff along with customization, support, and many other things was getting very cumbersome. So this was scrapped. When we came to the idea of introducing a Frappe HR mobile app, we went the PWA way. So PWA is a progressive web app which sits somewhere in between your native apps and your web apps. They are really powerful, installable websites, have a snappy and native looking UI, and they take up no space on your phones, easily installable, and also you don't have to worry about updating the app frequently because it's auto-updated. So the stack for this, one more motivation to go the PWA way was to utilize all the amazing components that we have built in Frappe UI and with the new design system, of course, Espresso. Along with that, we had Frappe, the full stack framework, and Ionic, which adds tiny enhancements, native looking enhancements in your operations, like action sheets, gestures, navigations, all of that. So the goal of creating this app is not limited to Frappe HR, but we are trying out something that will allow us to extract all the common components out of this into the Frappe UI library so that any app can spin up a PWA using Frappe UI in the future. So this is the first look of the app. This is how the home screen looks like. You have a navigation drawer to quickly switch between your dashboards and quick links to go through most used forms. So let's see it in action. The check-in panel on the home screen allows you to quickly check in and check out from the mobile app. This is much easier as compared to the desk flow where you had to navigate to the list view of check-ins and create a new check-in or your biometric. So this is pretty simple and snappy, and you get the last check-in or check-out time on your home screen as well. The leaves dashboard shows you the leave balance of all your leave types. You have an option to view the entire leave history or request a leave right from here. You can see all the recent leaves that you have applied for with a summary of the leave type, number of days, status. There is an upcoming holidays section that shows you all the holidays, and you can click on view all to view the entire list. So now you don't need to go to the holiday list and find out what are your holidays. Coming to the crux of the app, which is the transactions and list views for the respective transactions. So the list views are created to be much more snappy. There is a filter button to apply fill-based filters based on status, leave type, dates, and you can get all the data that you want by applying these filters. You will also see there is a general separation between your leaves and your team's leaves so that you don't have to explicitly apply this filter every single time. So let's see how to request a leave. You can just enter bare minimum information. The UI is crafted and it takes care of all the unnecessary data that you had to fill when you used to apply a leave through desk. So this is much faster than desk, as you can see. Similar to the leave dashboard, the expense claim dashboard gives you a summary of your total expense amount broken down into the amount that was pending, approved, and rejected. You can see all your recent expenses over here. To view an expense, you can simply click on it. You get the entire summary with attachments, and you don't need to jump to the individual form view to just get a glimpse of it. You can also see there is an employee advance balance section here. So advances are treated as wallet balances, which are not allocated against any claim or not returned to the employee. So to claim an expense, you can quickly go to the form view, add your expense item over here, just specify the amount. And as soon as you add an item, you can see the advances get auto-allocated against your claims. So this is taken care of without any manual intervention. Let's see one more entry to verify this. You can see that the second advance was also automatically checked with the amounts. You have an option to check or uncheck advances here, or even edit the amount that you want to utilize from a particular advance. You can add your taxes on top of your expenses from here. And lastly, attachments to support your claims from your gallery. So you can see the attachment view. You can delete attachments or upload more attachments from here. Simply review your claims, review the totals, and hit save to create a claim. Coming to salary slips, I think salary data is something we usually need very handy. So you have a quick link to go to your salary slip dashboard. You have an year-to-date amount set based on your payroll period, and the slips are filtered based on payroll period as well. You can go to a particular salary slip view to get an overview of your earnings and deductions, income tax breakups, bank details, and you have an option to download a PDF for your salary slips right from here. So this makes all your data very handy. So till now we talked about the employee's experience using the app, but what about your HR managers or approvers, right? They have to dig in through multiple lists like leaves and expense claims to see what all claims or leaves they have to approve. So this is solved with the unified request panel. You can see a general separation between your requests and your team's requests again. This is on your home screen. So it maintains a queue of all the things that need approval. You can quickly review your leave application and perform the necessary steps from here. No need to go to the form view. So it's pretty snappy. You can just approve from this list and the list will keep getting cleared. In case of expense claims, you can also view the items as well as attachments from here itself. That's not it. Like, notifications are an integral part of this app because you need to stay notified at all times. So you have real-time notifications. In case of approvers, you will get a notification for leave applications or expense claims that need approval. Or in case of employees, if your leave or claims were approved, you get notified about that as well. If you click on an item, it will navigate you to the form or the document, and you can also mark all items as read right from here. So this was a quick glimpse of the mobile app, and it's set to release soon after the V15 launch. So the PWA app will be available in November 2023. These are some of the things that we are planning to add. Workflows, which is very essential while working with approvals. There is geolocation-based attendance and your team info. That is all your people who report to you. In desk, we are working on an enhanced job portal, roster management, overtime. These are some of the things that are coming very quickly. But if you want to stay updated on what's going on in Frappe HR's development, you can go to GitHub and see this project, give feedback, raise issues to help us make the product better. So that was my time. Thank you so much for listening. Next, I would like to call Aditya on stage to showcase all the amazing stuff that Frappe Cloud has been building. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Aditya, and I've been building Frappe Cloud since last 4 years, since it's been around. So you see Frappe Cloud from your end every single day. Let me show you the glimpse from our end. So compared to last year, the site count is going up. We want to hit a 10K site count very soon. We are moving slowly, but the servers are becoming more and more popular now. And with all of these servers, right, like you keep surprising us with the apps that you deploy on Frappe Cloud, and not just the sheer count, but how frequently you deploy these apps. And that does mean a lot of work for us, every time you do a deployment, every time we have to clean up after you. Fortunately, that means we get paid, and we do like money. So the infrastructure revenue is becoming a significant chunk of Frappe's total revenue. Our monthly support ticket count is also decreasing. We were doing insanely high tickets last year. So that's good. But all is not fun. For instance, our uptime is terrible. So I'm going to show you our internal view of the uptime. And this is not when we think the sites are down or when you think the sites are down. This is when we believe the servers are malfunctioning in some way. So we count them as down. So some of the not so green bits mean some of the internal components are failing. Sometimes there is actual downtime. Sometimes it means our monitoring stack itself has failed. So a month ago, we had an issue with the monitoring stack itself. Everything was fine. but that is still a failure from our infrastructure point of view. And we want to build a robust infrastructure, which is hard, but we are trying to get better. We are getting better. Anyway, so Frappe Cloud team has been quiet for almost a year now, and now we are here to announce a few things. There's something for everyone, so let's get started. I'll invite Rutwik on stage, and then we'll go from there.
So hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Rutwik. I joined Frappe as an engineer almost 2 years ago now, and I've been always working with the Frappe Cloud team. And about a year ago when Hussain left Frappe Cloud, I took on Marketplace. So it's been a year with Marketplace. So needless to say, I'm going to start with some Marketplace updates and features that we introduced over the last year. But first of all, when we came here last year, we introduced that we had 60 published applications. And this year, we came with almost 160 new applications on Marketplace. Just a second. There were quite a few factors that contributed to this growth, and one of them was a new review system that we introduced. So earlier when you added applications to Marketplace, you had absolutely no idea what to do, and you're pretty much just running around like a headless chicken. But now, as soon as you add your applications, you can see that on the left. So earlier there was no such thing like this, not on the client side and not internally. And we also started doing automated security checks. So every time you push a commit to your application on GitHub, we scan your code for spooky stuff. Also started doing automated feedbacks. So if you add your application to Marketplace and forget to complete any steps or do not know what to do, where to go, we'll kind of send you emails every once in a while. And I think this whole improvement to the review system, which was completely non-existent before, allowed us to review apps and publish at much greater pace than before. If I talk about features to Marketplace, we added multi-version support. So now you guys can add new versions, change branches of existing versions, and remove any versions of your applications directly from the Frappe Cloud dashboard. Just go to the Marketplace app section and you'll see all of these options in overview. We also added features to create paid plans directly from the Frappe Cloud dashboard. So now you don't have to reach out to Frappe Cloud team or raise a support ticket with queries related to this. And fun fact, we have roughly 87 paid applications out of 160, so which is great. So some people have tried to create plans, and we've also done some payouts to some app publishers. So I think people are looking in the direction of earning passive income from Marketplace. Analytics tab got a huge buff. We started showing how much money your app is making if it's a paid app. Then total number of installs, page views, unique visitors. These are Marketplace page views. So I'm not going to talk much about future of Marketplace because I think already quite a lot of people have shed some light on it. But yeah, we'll announce revenue sharing. So every time someone pays us to anything on Frappe Cloud, your apps will get some share of it. Of course, there will be a proper revenue share program and everything. We won't just start handing out money as it is. So that's about future of Marketplace. The one thing that I can promise you guys is we'll have more and more apps. And I think that really, all right. You okay? Yeah, so we'll have more and more apps, and I think as we have more apps, it becomes very important to build a very seamless or very end-to-end platform for building applications. And right now, if you were to build Frappe apps, the process would look something like this. First, you will set up a local environment. Then, you'll develop your application, which is the actual main thing. Third, you'll push to some platform like GitHub or GitLab and then deploy in Frappe Cloud or any other service provider you're using. So these steps look very easy, but they're actually not. They do have quite a lot of problems. Setting up local environments is not very easy. It takes too much time, and it is extremely difficult, especially for new developers. So developers in crowd will understand the pain of setting up Frappe Bench for the first time. And when you have a local environment which is different on a different system, and you have a production environment which is probably running on Linux with some different version of software, it becomes very difficult to have any parity between your local and your production environment. So also, if you're a Windows user, you're probably using WSL or virtual machines, and there is no hope for you guys. So far. So what if I told, all right. So what if I tell you guys that there is a better way to do things, much faster. You guys can get started in seconds, not hours or days. It's very fast to onboard. Completely platform agnostic, so you guys can use Windows, Linux, Mac, does not matter. All you need is a web browser and a working internet connection. So this will be kind of the new way of developing Frappe apps. And today we are introducing Codespaces on Frappe Cloud. So what are Codespaces? If you're developers and have used GitHub, then you guys probably know. There are no secrets here. Codespaces are just web-based versions of your VS Code server. And there is not anything fancy about it. But if you club this with Frappe Cloud and the whole Frappe ecosystem, this turns out to be, or will turn out to be, an extremely fast and enjoyable developer experience. Because I think if people are going to build apps for marketplace, then the whole experience of developing applications should be very inviting rather than confusing or annoying. So I'm going to show a quick minute video to show how Codespaces are, how they work, and how quickly you can set them up on Frappe Cloud and get developing. So I'm just going to Frappe Cloud dashboard, Spaces tab. Let's create one. And let's set a name that we'll remember later on. So I'll select a bench where I want to deploy my code space and also the version of the bench that I want to deploy it for. Once the code space is ready, let's visit it. And you'll get a working VS Code server in seconds. In another tab, I'm opening a site where I expect to see the changes. So I'll be editing something live in production. You can say that this is my staging site. So this is our HTML page. You can see that something does not look right. The blue is very annoying. And as you guys might have seen so far with espresso and everything else, black is the new blue. So let's go ahead and edit the template. Let's change this to black. Let's go back to site, reload, see changes live. Now once we are done with this, let's go back to Codespace and stage the changes that we just made. Enter your commit message and then commit. Now how cool is that? Everything, I was able to do everything just in my browser. Who thought setting up Frappe apps would be this easy? So the steps that we saw before, where you would have to go and set up locally, develop locally, then push to GitHub and deploy in Frappe Cloud, can all be done directly on Frappe Cloud. And I think this is the direction that we are going with marketplace app development and Frappe app development in general. Codespaces will be out very soon. The guys with dedicated servers on Frappe Cloud will get to use it as early beta access or something like that. So in future, we'll also have the ability to share isolated environments with Codespaces in them. So you guys can create like an insights Codespace or a custom app Codespace that you want and then share with other users. So you don't even have to do the whole setup that we just saw before. Just search for it, click a button, and you have an environment working in seconds. That was all the cool stuff that I had to show you guys today. And the things that I do are really fun and experimental. But the next, I'm going to invite Saurabh to stage. He's going to talk about some important security-related stuff. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Saurabh, CISO at Frappe, and working with Frappe Cloud as DevSecOps engineer. Today, I'm going to talk about security dashboard that we are building on Frappe Cloud. So what inspired us to build a security dashboard? First, personal interest. I was managing Central, old infrastructure management platform for more than 5 years. After that, I have contributed in ISO implementation at Frappe. And while implementing ISO standard 9000 and 27001, we have learned many new things about the infrastructure management and security. Also, this increased my interest in this area, and my interest got backed up from the customer requirement. So when you go to the market and communicate to the customers, enterprise customers, they have always a bunch of questions around the security formats, like how you will manage my network, how I will know about the security information about the OS and other patches. Also, can I see the activities of the users that they are performing on my server? So considering all these things, we have decided to build a security dashboard on Frappe Cloud. So let's take a quick demo of the security dashboard. We can broadly classify this into 3 parts. First is system updates. This session talks about security patches and updates available for the OS and application. Under patches section, you will get list of all the security patches available for your system with the priority and package details. Under advisory section, you will get all the published security advisories for the applications that you have installed on your bench, that Frappe, ERPNext, and many more. Next, SSH log. So everyone is curious, like if there is any way that I can see what users are performing and can I log that activities. So yes, with the security dashboard, now it's possible. You can visualize all the SSH session activities. So this shows session, all SSH logs, the user, and the activities they are performing over the SSH. So you can see here, like user went to the bench, he accessed the site, performed some queries, got some error. So all these things get logged, and you can have the view of that. Next, managing network. Consider that you have a scenario where you want to grant access of your application from particular IP, or you want to block that. So now with the Frappe Cloud, just set up an Nginx rule, define the IP, the action like allow or deny, and it will update your proxy configurations to accommodate this. And last but not least, now with the Frappe Cloud, you will be able to manage your firewalls. This means you will have the control of your network, and you will perform operations like opening the ports, blocking particular IPs or blocks, and opening particular service from particular IP, like generally we do with the SSH. What next? So this dashboard still needs some polishing. So after that, soon we'll release it on Frappe Cloud, and it will be available for enterprise customers and dedicated server users soon. Thank you. I would like to invite Balamurali for next talk.
Cool. Hi, my name is Balu. I manage operations on Frappe Cloud, and usually that just means I try to keep your sites up and active. And not just sites, we have benches, servers, and we also have dedicated servers that people have been using. And well, since last conference, we announced. And we have been talking to people since last conference. And it seems people want more. So you might think, what more can they want? So the answer is this, clusters. So, well, what I mean by cluster is essentially just a private network of servers. Might seem complicated, but we already have this. We have one of this in every region. And you may notice there are certain components here. There's a reverse proxy for routing, and we also have 2 global services, monitoring and logging. Those we use for basically monitoring and logging. And so the analytics tab on your Frappe Cloud dashboard, that is powered by these 2 services. And there is then shared servers and then your dedicated servers. All these go in the region clusters. So you might still be confused as to what we are offering now. But so this is what the dedicated server offering looks like. We have, in the regional cluster, your dedicated server will just belong in the network, and we own the network. So what if you had all the dedicated servers in the cluster? That is also not what we're offering. What we are offering is this, where you have the entire private network and all the services within it, including monitoring and logging, which means you have access to all your metrics and logs, and you can create whatever dashboards you want. So who's this for? It's for enterprise. And of course, this will cost more because more servers will cost more. But this is for people who want a more physical isolation from what we currently have. And also maybe just people who are paranoid about security. Or maybe just people who just want to pass audits. But yeah, that's what we're offering. And we also are offering VPN because it doesn't make sense to have private networks without some means of accessing them. This is one use case of how you can use VPN to access your private networks. You may have a gateway where all your users can connect to and access the network, or you may even connect 2 networks together with the VPN. So yeah, this is a gist of what we're offering. You can do many things with the VPN. So pick your poison. Yeah. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Athul. He's an engineer and also a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Athul. I work as a platform engineer in the Frappe Cloud team. So I'll be talking about something related to hosting. So one of the things that we all know, and most of you might have went through this, is that self-hosting ERPNext is quite hard. It has a lot of moving components, and we need to configure it just perfectly so that the magic would happen. Even if you self-host the ERPNext, there are a lot of things that could go wrong, like setups, updates, dependency management, and rollbacks of version upgrades. So currently, ERPNext doesn't have a rollback feature, but it's there. But yeah. So what if I say that host ERPNext? What if I could say that you can host ERPNext on your own server with Frappe Cloud, and we call it hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is the way that you give us your servers. We'll set up ERPNext and all those things, and you can use that server to host as many private benches and sites and all as you want, without any manual things. So this is me before hybrid cloud and after hybrid cloud. So I joined Frappe like a year ago, and I've been doing manual setups for every self-hosted customers we had. It was pretty tedious for me. It took me like an hour to set up a single server and to get everything right and all those things. So after hybrid cloud came up, it just took me like 30 minutes to set the whole thing up. It was pretty convenient and easy for me, so that I can now devote my other time to other groundbreaking stuff. So yeah, what does this mean? So, you know, there won't be any more manual DevOps in Frappe team anymore. We are automating everything with hybrid cloud itself. So yeah. So what does this mean to you? So you will actually get an awesome dashboard and about your server. You can actually understand how your server is handling the load, how the CPUs are working, like how much disk space is being used and all those things. And yeah, you will also be able to be creating unlimited private benches and sites until you overwhelm your server. But most of the times it won't happen, but you can create as many as you want. So this is an example of doing that. So, and also on another note, we also migrated our current self-hosted customers to hybrid cloud. Like like a few customers are still there. They are having heavy compliance issues, so we haven't migrated them. But everyone else, even our biggest self-hosted customer is on hybrid cloud right now, and they haven't faced any issues as of now. So yeah. And here is a quick demo of setting up, you know, using hybrid cloud itself. So this is quite sped up. It's like a 30-minute process as a whole, but I sped it up to complete in a minute. So you can just go through it. So we are creating a new self-hosted server. We are giving it a name. So previously we had to give the private and public IPs. Now just you need to give the public IP itself. Private IP will be fetched from the server itself. We'll verify the server connection. Once the server is verified and, you know, start setting up, we will run 2 Ansari playbooks on it to set up the server and set up MariaDB on that server. So once that's done, you can go ahead and create your own bench. You can do that using the usual flow of setting up benches. So once you create that bench and deploy that bench, you will be able to create sites as you want. So yeah, this is going to take some time. So yeah. Once you created the bench, now you can just go ahead with the usual flow creating sites. Yeah. So yeah, once your site is created, you will be able to log in to your Frappe site in like what, 30 minutes. So that's the total time it takes from creating a new server and setting up ERPNext on that server, 30 minutes. So yeah. Also, I would like to say that we have added support for ARM servers on hybrid cloud as well as dedicated servers. So yeah, that's all from my side. Now let me invite Aditya for some more awesome news. Yeah.
Hello, it's me again, this time as an engineer. So when I started with cloud, I was mostly jobless. That is how I picked the project. The project just came, and I was like, okay, let's try it out. But over time, what I realized is what I like building is tools that essentially show power, that embody power. And the reason I like tools like these is because nobody likes limitations. Nobody likes constraints, especially not artificial constraints, right? For example, like running a specific type of app. This used to be our offering, just ERPNext, nothing else. And then we moved on to Frappe apps, the current cloud. You can do a lot of things, but as long as you stay within the boundary of Node and Python and more or less the framework. And I'm not sure if people like it. So what if I ask you, instead of having this constraint, like this constraint artificially put on you, what if you could do anything? What if you could run anything on cloud? Well, anything, as long as it runs in a container, and as long as you can tell us how to run it, whether it requires some data storage, whether it requires some port. If you already deployed something in last year or so, or maybe last couple of years, you might have heard of something called Compose. as in Docker Compose. So if your application comes with the Docker Compose description, then we can run it from cloud. So let's say, let's try deploying something. Let's say we want to run WordPress, okay? And why WordPress? Because, well, WordPress is awesome. So this is how you do it on cloud right now. You create a thing called stack, and you give us a URL wherever your WordPress site must be accessible to you. And then you find a compose description of WordPress. You can find it somewhere on GitHub. You copy that description, you tell us, hey, please run this. And again, this can be anything. This just happens to be your WordPress in this demo. This can be Elasticsearch, this can be a Flutter app, a node server running some weird stuff. We essentially then parse what these services are. So WordPress requires MariaDB and the WordPress application container. And then you click deploy. And then you wait a little bit. And once the deployment is done, your WordPress site is ready to go. By the way, this happened faster, right? WordPress is not even, they don't even care who we are. This was deployed faster than we can deploy a bench and a site on cloud that we built for our own stack. Like I said, WordPress is awesome. So now you can do anything, And if you're curious about what just happened, the moment we found out, we need to deploy MariaDB and we need to deploy WordPress, we essentially found 2 servers on our cluster. We deployed those two containers. And essentially the config description told us, hey, the application server needs to talk to the database. And we essentially spawned a small virtual network that is only visible to these containers and no one else. So you can go and deploy like 100 WordPress applications, and they won't ever share traffic. Even your own applications won't ever share traffic with other set of applications, let alone other customers. So you get your own private network without having to go to VPC and paying a lot of money. And then after that, you get a domain. So we point that domain to the container that is running WordPress. We acquire TLS for you, and then your site just works. And this will work for anything that has a web frontend. So as long as you listen to port 80, we'll figure out how to route a domain to you. So it's a cool demo and everything, right? Maybe some of you actually have a use case, but the general idea is this, right? What we want to do is let you do whatever it is that you want to do. And the other thing is, really we actually don't want Jeff, right, to own a lot of computers, and certainly not all the computers in the world, right? And eventually, instead of just being a service that we are right now, we run almost everything on AWS, and then we give you this additional layer on top that essentially removes all the complexities of CLI and just puts a nice UI on top. We want to be a vendor that essentially just runs bare metal server just like any other cloud provider and gives you the same experience that we're giving today. So that is where we want to be, and this is a solid step in that direction. So that is my last announcement. So thank you.